Okay, so we have Silly Samson here, y'all. I appreciate you coming in here, man, because like this is so much easier for me, and it saves a lot more time.
No, it's cool. I understand. I mean, honestly, I'm just pretty happy to talk about the subject, you know?
Yeah, good deal.
All right.
So, so I guess I'll just start off like this. Like you had some thoughts on the last video I posted, so just hit me with whatever.
All right. So, in the last video you posted, you commented on how, if abortions are made illegal, then it won't be any less or more safe than, how it is right now. Am I characterizing it correctly?
Yeah, basically what I was getting at is it doesn't have any real sort of effect whether you make abortions legal or illegal. That doesn't prove that they're more or less safe, whether they're illegal or not. It literally has no effect at all.
Well, I see. I don't entirely disagree with that. Or sorry, I mean, I don't entirely agree with that. Like the way that I look at it is like right now with abortions being legal, then like whether or not you look at them as being morally acceptable, then at least right now we have like a official, sanctified clinical way to perform it. We have doctors that are going to be held to standards where they have to keep their equipment clean, where they basically are just being monitored to make sure that they're not going to be doing anything that, say, somebody, another doctor wouldn't do if they were like, say, doing open heart surgery. We're being kept to that standard. And like the way that I see it is like if we were to just flat out say that abortion was illegal, then you would still have all these people that want to have abortions that are going to be pressed into a much more situation where they're gonna start doing things like using coat hangers to get abortions, and they won't necessarily always do that. There are other ways. I'm sure we've all heard of the situations where like a woman doesn't want to have a baby, but they don't necessarily want to go to a doctor to have an abortion, so they might have their boyfriend punch them in the stomach, which could lead to other complications as well. Or they won't uh shoot they or all right they might like drink themselves into having a stillborn child, which again has its own dangers in play. Like I mean, I guess I don't see it as really being that viable of an option to take the safest possible way that we can do this off the table whenever people are still likely going to keep on doing this.
Well, here's the thing: this idea that things will be more unsafe should abortion be made illegal, it's just based on a lot of just false information and conjecture. Um, Dr. Mary Calderon, a pro-choice medical professional back in 1960, refuted all that nonsense about how unsafe abortion was years ago when abortion was illegal, and we're talking about 1960, 13 years before Roe v. Wade was passed in the United States. And even she was saying like, okay, abortion is no longer. I guess maybe at one time it was considered an unsafe procedure, but she said it's like no longer considered an unsafe procedure. So it literally had nothing to do with the legality of the issue. And then you have in recent years this dude named Kermit Gosnell who ran one of the deadliest abortion clinics you can imagine, and abortion was legal. So I mean, what I'm telling you is the legal issue really has nothing to do with how safe or unsafe it is. It has everything to do with the ethics of the person performing the abortions and or running their facility.
All right, well, I do agree with you that it has a lot to do with who specifically it is that's doing the abortion. And I mean, I agree with you to the extent that that's pretty much what my whole issue is here. To where, like, okay, so let's just take an example from history. Let's look at prohibition, for example. You have all these people that wanted to drink alcohol, but we made alcohol illegal. So they no longer can get it through legal means, which are going to be managed by the government. They're going to have guidelines that they have to follow. Now, sure enough, whenever prohibition became illegal, you had all these people that still wanted to drink, and they started going to speakeasies. They found places where they could go and get their alcohol. Now, granted, there was no guarantee that these places would be dangerous. You could very well get some real good alcohol that was, say, brewed across, across the border in Canada or something. Some stuff that is probably not going to kill you. But on the other side of that, because there were no more guidelines anybody had to follow in making alcohol, and there was still a whole bunch of people that wanted alcohol, then you ended up having these people that started moonshining. They started making stuff like bathtub gins, tossing stuff in there that would kill people or make them go blind. Now, if we make abortion illegal, I'm going to argue that we're going to have a very similar situation where you're probably still going to have some licensed doctors that are going to be doing abortions under the table, but there's also going to be a whole bunch of people that are going to step up and be like, hey, if you really want an abortion, I'll give it to you as long as you pay me. And they're not going to for any reason want to follow the scruples that the doctors before them, whenever abortion was legal, had to follow. You're going to have people that are going to take advantage of the desperation of others and perform unsafe practices. You're also going to have women that are going to take it up on themselves, like I mentioned earlier, doing abortions themselves with coat hangers and stuff. And these people aren't medical professionals. They're the kind of people that, like, what if they scratch their womb or something while they're doing that, and they like cause internal bleeding or something like that. Is the fear that we're trying to avoid right now.
But this is the problem, though. Like I told you, like I said, like 13 years before abortion was even made legal, you didn't have this sort of thing happening. Like a pro-choice medical personnel refute that, like straight away right off the bat. So I mean, we have no reason to think it would happen. But I mean, let's say for the sake of argument, it did happen. And if it did happen, what does that have to do with the procedure itself? Whether it should be permissible or not? Just because women would make bad decisions when abortion is made legal doesn't connect to, oh, it's a morally okay decision to make. That doesn't connect anyway, for one thing. And again, going back to what I said, is like this whole like scare tactics with this horrors and all these stuff, all these women are gonna die and whatnot. There's no basis in that in history whatsoever, and I don't see any reason to think it would be any such basis should abortion get made illegal again.
Antonio, do you honestly believe that, say, a woman that would perform an abortion on herself with a coat hanger is being just as safe as a medical professional who would perform an abortion on her? That would sterilize their equipment and actually use equipment that is specifically, designed for this sort of thing, instead of just jamming a piece of metal up inside of them and twisting it around. Like, do you really consider these things to both be of equal safety? Because, like, right now, I am not arguing the moral point. I really don't care that much about the moral point at this exact second. I'm arguing that it would be far safer and it would just be far safer to have abortions legalized, where people can do this under the what's what we're looking for here, under the supervision of medical professionals. I mean, it seems a little obvious to me.
Well, number one, you're not arguing the moral point because that's what a lot of pro-choicers like you like to do. You like to avoid the moral point because you're at a significant disadvantage in trying to argue it in the first place. But as far as talking about the hanger thing, of course, if a woman sticking a hanger in her vagina as opposed to having it done by a practiced, trained medical practitioner. It's going to be a much different scope. But here's the thing: um, why are we sitting up here thinking that a lot of women are just going to lose all sorts of common sense and stick hangers in their vaginas just because abortion is made illegal? I mean, that's just pretty much assuming the worst about women. They won't just use common sense and things like that.
Antonio, I am very simply assuming that there are going to definitely be some women who are going to be in very desperate circumstances in wanting to have their abortion, and being in that sort of desperate circumstance, they're going to do what they feel that they need to do regardless. And if we don't have some kind of medical professionals out there making sure that it's not being done the wrong way, then they are going to follow that desperation and do risky things. I mean, that's just I don't see any way around that.
Well, again, like I mean, there's certain drugs that are not accessible right now that are very harmful and obviously are legal for that reason. But just because people are going to do whatever they can to get them and still take them and do really really bad things to themselves on their bodies doesn't necessitate that those drugs should be made legal. So what does that have to do with anything? I mean, you make bad decisions, you pay the consequences.
Well, Antonio, why is it specifically that those drugs are not legal?
I mean, I don't really know why, but I mean that's beside the point. The point is, oh, hold on, let me finish. The point
All right.
is, if they do something and take them in ways that are not, I guess, medically specified the right way, or whatever they do to harm themselves with these drugs, if they take them in such a way that's not beneficial to them, obviously, then that's on them. That's not on the people who made them illegal. In the same way, if a woman wants to, stick a coat hanger in her for JJ because she wants to, she feels she's in a desperate situation and wants to perform the abortion herself. If she harms herself, that's on her.
Well, see, like, all right, let's keep with this drug example. Let's talk about, I don't know, crystal meth, right? Like, you have this drug that is illegal because I mean, you're right. It's going to hurt the person that uses it almost certainly. They are going to become addicted. It's going to change their brain chemistry to the point that they, just want the meth constantly. It's going to deteriorate their own body. And like, see, like for me personally, I think what really matters here is that, like, if you were to say legalize meth, for example, then you would have a bunch of people who would go, oh, hey, yeah, meth is legal. Great, let's do meth. And they would start doing meth, and then they would shun the responsibilities to their family. You would end up having wives and kids who would suffer because a father, for example, would start doing crystal meth and be unable to provide for the family, or the mother. It could be the mother providing for the family, whatever. I mean, the point here is that there are people, there are innocents, not just the person who's harming themselves, who have a very realistic chance to be hurt by this. Now, you look at abortion, for example, and right now, the way that abortion is, with it being legal, that is removing that damage of well, it's not removing it entirely, but it's helping to remove the possibility of harm to the mother who is performing the abortion. Now, I guess it could be argued that she still has the fetus inside of her, and that the fetus is being harmed. But I mean, my personal stance on that is the fetus can't really think. Like, if you're getting rid of the fetus, then what's the unthinking, unemotional baby really gonna lose there? Like, who is really the what's the word I'm looking for here? The victim in this case. Like, the way that I see it, arguing for the safety of whoever we're talking about here, it is the legalization of abortion that is protecting people from that self-harm right now. And making it illegal is going to put people in situations where they are open to harm because the people that are going to be performing these abortions really have no reason to care about them beyond the money that they're going to make in giving these desperate people abortions. Now you look at the drug situation. The reason why the drugs are illegal is again to protect these people from self harm. But removing abortion from being legal isn't protecting anybody from self harm. It's putting them right in the way of self harm.
But for one thing, who cares if these drugs are illegal for protecting them from self harm? If people want to do what the heck they want to do with their body, should they not have that right to do so? I mean, who cares? I mean, it's not anyone else's body; it's theirs. If they want to do messed up drugs and harm themselves, they should have the freedom to do that. Right?
Well,
Right?
what about the children who may have to depend on these people? What about the people that these alleged drug users have a responsibility to?
Okay,
Do
you can
you
say the
not
same
care
thing
about
about
them?
you can say the same thing about abortion too. What
Mm.
about women who may have children, but she decided to do something dangerous and stick a hanger in her vagina? You know, the same thing with people doing illegal drugs. You know,
Oh,
in both cases, they can have other people to think about, but
yes. That's it. That's pretty much exactly what I'm arguing for. But in this case, it's not legalizing abortion that's going to cause that woman to stick a hanger up in her vagina. It's making it illegal, like you're saying.
women have still done dangerous things when abortion's been legal. And when abortion was illegal, that didn't necessarily prove that women was going to make those sorts of dangerous decisions. Like I said, there's no basis in that in history whatsoever. And
Antonio,
there's really not more I can tell you on that.
look, I cannot control what people are going to choose to do ultimately. The best that I can do is give them a good option that is possible for them to make. And that is what I'm advocating for right now. Leave the option on the table because it is the best and safest option.
So you're going to ignore history. Here's the thing between you and me. I actually got proven history to back up what I'm saying. You don't.
Well, Antonio, I mean, I cited uh, prohibition as a good example of what happens whenever you make something illegal that a majority of the population populace does not agree with. They're going to go out of their way to do it anyway, even if it causes harm to them. Are you going to say that you know people are not going to follow the same pattern
Well,
as
that's a
they
not.
have historically?
Well, the thing is, man, that's a non sequitur because just because somebody may act that way in a prohibition doesn't mean it's going to be the same thing in a totally separate case. And
Well,
like I said, and you're talking about years and years ago where that had absolutely no basis in history when abortion was illegal, but yet at the same time, around those same time periods, um, it prohibition may have been different, but that doesn't prove that abortion being illegal was the same way.
no, Antonio, I'm saying that like the same factors that ultimately push these people to take risks in in prohibition are the same factors that are going to push them to take similar risks whenever abortion is legalized. Like you look at prohibition, for example, and you have a lot of people who disagreed with it, but you also had a lot of people who you didn't agree with it at all. Like a bunch of people who would argue that they have personal responsibility over what they do whenever they get drunk, and just because a few bad eggs are going to do things whenever they get drunk, it doesn't mean that they shouldn't. Now, you look at abortion, and it's not just this clear cut case where you can honestly say that this is wrong. There are a lot of cases, such as whenever a woman gets raped, whenever a woman, you know, uh, is molested, or even whenever a woman is lied to by a man and ends up having a baby and just completely gets abandoned and left in just a terrible situation where you can conceive that maybe abortion should be okay, maybe abortion should be accepted in this situation. It's like I don't think that you're going to get a whole bunch of people just jumping on board and being like, oh yeah, abortion is illegal now, I guess it's not going to happen. It's going to be like prohibition, man. We're going to have our little abortion speakeasies where people can go and have their babies aborted without anybody having to worry about it because it's out of the sight of the law. And again, because it's out of the sight of the law, nobody's going to want to make sure that they're using clean equipment or performing the procedure properly. They're just going to want the money from the women.
Well,
Like,
you keep on making
I
these
don't.
claims, man, but the bottom line is abortion was illegal around the same time prohibition was going on. And history simply doesn't back you up on this, period.
Antonio, do you honestly believe that abortions weren't happening back then? That women
That's not
weren't,
what I said.
you know, well, then what are you saying exactly? I'm sorry, I'm missing your point here.
Well, I never denied that abortions were happening back then. They've been happening for quite some time, in fact, thousands of years. And I did not deny that there were some or certain women that did die. I'm not denying this at all. What I'm telling you is there's not this, huge scare of, these, I don't know, these hundreds, these thousands to hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of women who'd be dying in the illegal abortions. Like the historical data simply doesn't back that up.
Well, I'm not saying that it's going to be hundreds of millions. I'm just saying that it is definitely going to be a thing. Like
It
just
was
the way the
barely even
patterns
hundreds. It was barely even hundreds, if even that.
are you saying that that's an acceptable number?
Well, here's the thing. It goes back to what I said again. If people want to, do things to put themselves at risk, then that's on them. But what I'm telling you is, a lot of women had the common sense not to do that sort of thing when abortion was illegal.
Maybe. I mean, I just I don't necessarily agree with that, Antonio. I mean, I'm just unconvinced. That's really all I can say here. Is I
You
don't
can
think
say
you're
you're
looking at it
unconvinced
from a
all
very.
day. You can say you're unconvinced all day, but you ain't got the history to back you up. I do.
Well, I mean, explain to me why they're not going to then. Like, explain to me why the situation, much like prohibition that I have laid out here, is not going to be the case.
Well, I can tell you a good reason why, because I do believe that a lot of women have common sense, and I think I think women are very very smart, and they'll see what their options are. If abortion is illegal, I don't think these sorts of scare tactics are going to pan out in reality.
Antonio, would you agree with me that sometimes people that you would consider to be smart may do stupid things in a moment of desperation?
Yes, but I mean, but like I said, it didn't. There's no history, a substantial history anyway, backing this up, and I have no reason to think it would be later on. But like I said, that wouldn't prove that the act itself should be morally or legally permitted in our laws anyway. But even if you want to ignore the moral issue so much, I'm just not convinced. The history doesn't back it up, and I have no
Hey,
reason to think it would happen when we make a should abortion be made illegal again.
hey, I don't mind, not arguing the moral position. That's not why I came in here. I've argued it a few times with you before anyway. I'm just saying, man, like it seems pretty obvious to me that if we make this illegal, then it's going to be the same way that it's happened during every prohibition. And if you don't want to talk about alcohol, then just look at the black market for drugs that we've created in this country by making those illegal. I mean, you have all these people who they want their drugs and they are not going to take no as an answer. And sure, I mean, I guess they may have some good reasons for that. I don't think they all necessarily have good reasons for that, but they're still going out there and they're still getting their drugs. Now, you actually brought a situation like this up in your last video where you mentioned that, well, a good drug dealer that wants to keep on having their people come back to them are gonna give them high quality drugs. Even though it's illegal, they're still going to give them high quality drugs because it's in their best interest. And that's not necessarily the case. You have plenty of drug dealers out there who, for example, are going to get themselves some cocaine and then they're going to cut that cocaine with something like baking soda because they don't really care what the people that they sell the cocaine to are snorting, because for them it's just about the money. And it's going to be the same way if we put a prohibition on abortion. You're going to have all these people who still want abortions and are going to go to these people out of their desperation that are going to offer them abortions, but they're not going to care what happens to them, because it's not about their safety. It's about the money that they can make from them. I mean, it happens every time that you make something illegal that the public wants.
I didn't
You
say.
create this black market, and that's what's going to happen, and that's what's going to push people into situations where they're going to be taken advantage of, just like the drug dealers take advantage of the people that want to buy cocaine because they don't
I
care.
didn't say that the drug dealers necessarily cared about those people's lives. What I was talking about was the fact that they would see to it that they have like some of the best product out there. I mean, if they don't got good product, ain't nobody gonna buy from them. That's
No,
just the bottom line. And they're gonna make sure they got the best product out there, and they're not gonna let the laws get in the way from them and get in the way of them having good product. And in the same way, those who truly care about their clientele, like OBGYNs, they're not going to let the fact that it's illegal, let them provide the procedures as safely as possible. It was the same way before abortion was made legal in the United
but
States.
hold on
These
here. Like,
procedures were done generally by medical practitioners well respected in their communities. They weren't typically just done by random Joe Schmo out on the street with like a scalpel or something.
they were being done illegally by doctors?
Of course they were illegal, but what I'm telling
And
you
can you guarantee?
is when
Hold on.
women were going to get these when women were going to get these procedures, they were going to medical practitioners who were generally well respected in their communities.
Well, right off the bat, I would like a little bit of evidence for that. It's okay. You can put it in the
Okay, sure.
side
I'll
chat.
show you right now. I'll
I would
screen
like
share it for
to.
you right now.
I'll take a look in a second at it. Comment a little bit though on the
I'm gonna
whole.
screen share it to you right now.
Okay, well, I'll take a look. No
Okay,
longer
this
dangerous.
is Mary Calderon, 1960. American Journal of Public Health. Abortion is no longer a dangerous procedure. This applies not just to therapeutic abortions as performed in hospitals, but also to so-called illegal abortions as done by physicians. In 1957, there were only 260 deaths in the whole country attributed to abortions of any kind. In New York City in 1921, there were 144 abortion deaths. In 1951, there were only 15. And while the abortion death rate was going down so strikingly in that 30-year period, we know what happened to the population and the birth rate. Two corollary factors must be mentioned here. First, chemotherapy and antibiotics have come in, benefiting all surgical procedures as well as abortion. Second, even more important, the conference estimated that 90% of all illegal abortions are presently being done by physicians. Call them what you will, abortionists or anything else, there are still physicians trained as such, and many of them are in good standing in their communities. They must do a pretty good job if the death rate is so low as it is. Abortion, whether therapeutic or illegal, is the main no longer dangerous.
Can you
I don't
guarantee
really know
me
what.
that this will be the case?
Well, I mean, I guess there's really nothing in life that are truly guarantees, bro. But I mean, like I said, I have no reason to think that's gonna change.
Like, see, dude. I mean, this is my whole problem here. Is that, I mean, yes, you are right. There are definitely going to be some doctors that are going to keep performing abortions under the table. Like, I have no delusions about that. But again, without having something on it on the law, then there's absolutely nothing that's going to actually hold these people to that. There's nothing that's going to make sure that the doctor that you're getting an abortion from is an actual doctor. And very much like the drug dealers, who don't necessarily, have to have the best of the best whenever they're selling, because let's face it, drug addicts are addicts, and they don't really, if they're getting the best of the best, as long as they can get their fix. You will be able to sell someone some bad coke if they really, really want that coke. And whenever people are not going to be able to get abortions safely and legally on guarantee, then people are going to get abortions regardless. I mean, I really, what I'm arguing here, Antonio, is that you are basically opening up the system to be taken advantage of. Whenever right now we have a pretty good guarantee that those safe abortions that you're talking about are going to happen, because really they're your biggest option. And if you just cut that out and you get rid of all those, then how are you going to guarantee to me honestly that all these women that are quote unquote using their best judgment are going to go out there and actually find some underhanded doctor to do it for them, instead of just finding whoever is going to say they can? What's going to stop them from walking into a back alley somewhere to a guy that says, hey, I'll punch you in the stomach and kill that baby for $5. Don't worry about it. There's no possible complications that can happen by having a dead fetus resting inside your body. It's just not there, Antonio. I
Well,
think
here's
you're
the
being a little
thing.
naive.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't promise you I could guarantee anything, but again, it goes back to what I said. I have faith that women are very smart and intelligent and can use basic common sense. But at the same time, however, like I said, if there are women who decide to do such a dangerous thing and put their lives on the line and at risk like that, then that's on them and they pay the consequences. That's not my problem.
Well, Antonio, I mean, it seems like a pretty cold way to look at it whenever honestly like what you're advocating for is going to leave the option there for them to get hurt. I mean, you are creating that, that threat right now, and you
No, I'm not
do not
creating.
seem to
I'm
care.
not creating nothing. They the ones putting their lives at risk. You can point.
Well,
You
Antonio,
can
you're the
point.
one that's forcing them to.
No, I'm not forcing them to do anything. If they want to screw their bodies up, that's on them. You can point the finger at me all day, but I mean, that means nothing to me. You can just point, point, point. But at the end, they can control what they do, not me.
Well, shit, Antonio, if it doesn't mean anything to you, then why are we arguing to argue this? I mean,
Well, you know what means something to me? The millions and millions of innocent children who have gotten viciously slaughtered. That's what means something to me. And um, uh, I would say the vast number of women who have been told all these lies about this thing called abortion, this thing which is supposed to, provide them some sort of freedom. This thing is supposed to, I guess, get them into a position to make real choices and do real things with their body and put them on a path to really just deciding where they want to go in their life. They've been told that vicious lie, and I intend with every bit of breath in me, as long as God allows me to live another day from one day to the next, to expose this lie that is abortion.
well, I mean, I personally don't necessarily see what the lie is. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I think that you're the one that's being the most dishonest whenever you're describing abortion as, children being viciously slaughtered. It's not slaughter, man. It's a medical procedure. I mean, the fetuses that this is happening to cannot even recognize pain. I mean, they don't have any sense of what they're lost. I mean, it's not a
Well,
slaughter. It's
well, here's the
just
thing,
an
bro. I
abortion.
can understand. I can definitely understand why you see it that way because you argue on moral relativism. So, of
Uh
course,
huh.
if you would think on a certain level that morality is subjective, of course you're not going to see it as slaughter. You can arbitrarily just say it. It's subjective to me. It ain't slaughter. So what?
That's not arbitrary. I mean,
Dude,
specifically, I say it's not slaughter because there's no real victim here, man.
okay, but you can just arbitrarily just say that. You
It's not
believe
arbitrary.
yes it is. It's literally you just saying that. Like the person who believes that morality is subjective, that like things like objective moral values and duties do not exist. They can think anything is okay. They can think rape is just fine, and that's not a big deal. So what?
Well, Antonio, I would disagree with those people that think rape is just fine, because there are reasons why one would find that to not be the case. I mean, like, for example, there are reasons why I'm saying that you would not necessarily call abortion a slaughter. I mean, you can disagree with my reasoning if you want to. You can disagree that finding a fetus to not be what's the word? What exactly do I want to say here? I
A
mean, all
person,
right,
you have a
look,
child, you can human, you can say whatever you want.
fully formed human. Like, you can argue that the fetus has no emotions and therefore it has no suffering, and therefore you really wouldn't call it slaughter. I mean, it is a specified medical procedure. Now, you can say that you disagree with that if you want to, but to say that I'm just arbitrarily saying stuff whenever I'm giving you reasons is not very honest to my position.
Well, you are because here's the thing: you have no basis in your worldview to say someone who thinks abortion is not wrong is any different than the person who says rape is not wrong. You have no objective basis in your worldview to say that you're right and they're not.
Well, I mean, just like right off the bat, rape is a crime that is, done against a living person who is fully conscious and aware of what's happening to them, and has the capability
So,
to get traumatized by this sort of event.
so, so,
So,
so.
dude, what do you mean so? I mean, if you don't find these things different, then I mean, honestly,
No,
that's on
they
you.
don't.
But
They
I
don't.
don't
You don't
understand.
care.
Hold on, Antonio. I don't
No, they
understand
don't care.
why.
Morality is
You
subjective to
don't.
them. They
You
don't
don't
care.
care. Well, I mean, they might not care, but the rape victim cares.
Who
Do you not care
cares?
about the rape victim, Antonio? Because
Who,
that's
under
all on you, dude. I care about.
under subjective morality, who cares? So what?
I care. I
I
mean,
mean, that's you.
dude,
That's in your
hold
worldview.
on, hold
I'm
on,
assuming your worldview as the person who doesn't care. So what?
Antonio. I mean, first off, you're not assuming my worldview. You're strawmanning my worldview.
No, I'm
Like,
not.
look, hold
No,
on,
I'm
dude.
not.
Let me explain it to you. You see, like I was saying, rape is this crime that happens against a person who can fully understand what's happening to them. Like, they can suffer. Those people can feel pain, and my empathy leads me to say, you know what? Those people
So,
should not have to feel that. Maybe
so,
cannot necessarily feel pain.
so.
So I guess this is the miracle of the Christian worldview right here. Antonio does not care
Well,
if people get raped.
that's a
Oh
straw
man.
man. That's a straw man too. What the difference between your worldview and mine is? I actually have a objective moral framework that I can work from, which exists with moral values, objective moral values and duties, to where I can say that both things like rape and abortion are wrong. You have no basis to say that the person who says that rape isn't wrong is wrong. You
Hold
have
on.
no basis in your worldview at all.
We're getting off topic here. I thought that we were talking about, whether or not it was safe, whether or not whether or not it was moral. I think you're trying to move the goalpost on me right now,
No,
Antonio.
no, I'm not moving the goalposts at all. What I'm saying is, when you're going to sit up here and make this claim that abortion isn't wrong, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a comparison to saying that in your worldview, that's the only reason why you say that, because in your worldview, morals are subjective. There are no objective moral values and duties, so you do have every basis to say, oh, abortion isn't wrong. And what I'm telling you is by that same worldview, someone can say that rape is not wrong.
Yeah, except I'm not saying that by my worldview because, like I said, the person getting raped is fully aware that they can get raped. They have feelings unlike the fetus. Like the fetus, what
Doesn't
are you
matter.
taking? Oh, hold on. It does matter, dude. It doesn't matter to you, but it matters to me. I mean, you are
Oh, it
completely
very much
ignoring. Hold
matters to
on.
me.
You're ignoring the distinction between, like, a being that can what's the word I'm looking for here? You're ignoring the distinction between a being that can rationalize for itself and feel pain, between something that's basically just a vegetable. I mean, you do not distinct between that, and I think that it just doesn't make any sense.
I'm assuming your worldview, so I don't care.
Obviously, you're not.
I am assuming your worldview. In your worldview, there are no objective moral values and duties, so I have no reason to hold the same view that you do. I could just say it doesn't matter whether we're dealing with a conscious agent or not. It's the same thing. Who
No, see, look,
cares?
this is the problem, dude. You're not actually taking on my worldview. Like, look, if you're taking on my worldview, then why do me and you disagree
Ah.
right now, Antonio? Why do we disagree if we're both holding the same
Oh,
worldview?
ooh, great question. You know why? Because people who believe that morals are subjective are going to have different opinions.
Right. So why
That's
do you have your opinion?
so if
What's your
I'm
reason behind it,
adopting,
other than I don't care?
if I'm temporarily adopting your worldview, I'm hypothetically pretending to be the person who's just simply holding a different opinion than you.
A person who doesn't care if other people get raped. That's your opinion, right?
Why should
That's
they
that's your
care in your
worldview.
worldview?
Well, shoot, Antonio, I just explained it to you, and I mean, if you don't care about the empathy that would go towards
In
caring about the
my,
woman getting raped, then I mean that's your shortcoming, not mine.
in my worldview, I do care about the woman who gets raped because I have an
We
objective moral basis to say why I should. But in your worldview, you don't,
oh,
sir.
you
You do
mean you
not.
mean God's opinion? You mean God's opinion, his subjective opinion that you agree with?
Here's the thing. If God is the ultimate paradigm, then nothing is subject to him. Therefore, it wouldn't be subjective.
It sounds pretty subjective to me. I mean, God gives you an opinion, you agree with it, and then you just go with it.
Because
Like, I
here's
mean,
the
I
thing.
hold on. If I appeal to Richard Dawkins, does that mean that I still have a subjective opinion, Antonio?
Well, Richard Dawkins and you are both men, so that comparison doesn't fly. It doesn't work.
So what you're saying is that this is special pleading because God is God. He doesn't have to follow the
Oh,
same rules as
oh,
everything else.
oh, no, it's not special pleading at all, and I can tell you why. Because
All right.
if he's the ultimate paradigm and he creates everything, then he's not subject to anyone or anything.
I don't
So,
understand how that follows.
so how does it follow?
Yeah, I don't.
Check this out. Check this out. Whether you liked it or not, the ultimate paradigm can make whatever rules and laws he wishes. So if he's the ultimate paradigm, then he's not subject to anyone or anything. Therefore, anything he says is what it is. It makes perfect
Mm-hmm.
sense.
So we listen to his opinion because he's the boss.
Well, it wouldn't be his opinion because for you to say that it's someone's opinion, it would be assuming that like someone like you and I, we are on the same level playing field. So for you to say that something is an opinion, that means it's subject to what we're saying, or and since it's just subject to what we're saying, and our opinion can't be greater than yours, then that would be the only reason why you would say it's opinion. But he has nobody he's comparing himself to. He is the ultimate paradigm. Therefore, since he's not compared to anyone else, nothing he says would be opinion.
Well, what makes him so special exactly? I mean, I have the ability to rationalize just as well as God does. Evidently, why is he so special?
I mean, by the virtue of being the ultimate paradigm.
Okay,
I mean, what rules and laws are you going to put on him?
what makes him
He's
the
the
ultimate
ultimate.
paradigm? I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess that like I look at this like this, Antonio. In order for you to say that he's the ultimate paradigm, then you really have to devalue human opinion and human thought, and
Oh, I
that's
do.
honestly a sad
I
thing to me.
do. Oh, I do. And as a flawed human being,
Like,
I can see why human opinion is pretty dang bad. I absolutely do, especially as a biblical following Christian.
I really I don't know what to say to that. Honestly, it's sad, dude. It, I'm not
Oh,
saying that to like insult you or anything. I'm just saying that
I
like as a
understand. It's all
thing
good.
that I hear people say regularly, it is one of those things that just kind of makes me sigh. I mean, like human beings, we don't need to sell ourselves short. We've managed to come pretty far considering the fact that we basically used to be apes.
Do you
I
believe
just
that we should throw stuff like Christianity and other social religions and things like that out the window?
not entirely. Like I myself am one of those people that believe that you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like there's a lot of stuff. Oh, excuse me, that Christianity seems to get right, and I will give it full credit for basically giving Western society its structure from a very early point. But with that said, yeah, there's definitely stuff inside of the religion and inside of most religions that I think that we should just do away with. mostly the supernatural aspects. Like, for example, if you were to just take like Jesus, like take the Bible and get rid of all the supernatural bits of it, basically make a Jefferson Bible, then I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. Hey, yeah, sure, follow Jesus. He seems to be a pretty good guy. He's got his head on his shoulders, But the parts about coming back, from the dead and stuff, not so sure about that.
Okay. Well, this is a nice talk. I appreciate it. Unfortunately, I gotta go a little premature, but I appreciate you coming in, man.
Oh, that's all good. It was nice talking.
Yeah, we should do this
It
again,
was fun.
man.
Yeah, I could do that. I find that I can I can keep myself in control a little bit better whenever I'm only one on one.
All
So,
right. I think I'm the same way, to be quite honest. It sounds good, man. Well,
oh yeah,
well, I'm gonna go ahead and take this off the air, but you take care, man.
all right, yeah. Talk to you later, Antonio. You have a good one.
Too.
Bye.
Well, folks, I gotta take off, but I appreciate everybody watching and tuning in. As always, hit the sub button, please. Support a brother. Take care, God bless, and peace.